Welcome to the About podcast. Here we explore your financial health in simple and easy to understand ways.
All right, well, welcome everybody back to the About podcast. This is Jeremy Scott, one of your hosts here, and of course joined by Roy Hucke. Roy, how you doing?
I am wonderful.
Well, fantastic.
And man, I'm really just enjoying this table. I'm looking at it as we're
It's
working
very
here.
nice. It's very nice to touch.
It's really pretty.
So yeah. I like the whole setup. I think this was a good switch, and I like having something in front of me.
Yeah, I do too.
So that way,
I actually do too.
Nobody knows if I'm wearing shorts or not. It's good times.
Because you're obviously not wearing shorts.
No, why would you do that?
Wink.
This is a professional environment, Roy. Come on now. Well, welcome everybody. We are so glad to have you here. Just Roy and I here today. We have guests and we love our guests, but just he and I. And we thought it would be fun to talk about something that is actually deeply, deeply impacting right now both of our industries.
Everybody's industries.
And everybody's industries. And that, of course, is AI. I'm curious, Roy. I mean, I have been... as a client of yours, I have seen it. I've seen a little bit of your use of it when you're working with clients, as far as recording meeting notes, and things like that. So maybe that's a good place to start. Kind of the table stakes is like, where did you find those like easy plugins for some of the AI tools that are available now? That others might find helpful.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting because one of the things that with AI is security.
Yes.
We're very cautious on how we move forward with the use of AI because of that, and our compliance regime within our company oversees that, right, to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So the one that we've implemented so far, there's actually a lot of places we see we could potentially use it, but right now we have used it with the implementation of meeting notes, right, which have been wonderful because it actually allows me as the advisor to be more present and listen and not be taking notes, which has been awesome.
Yep.
And then it's designed for the financial world that I live in, right? So we have certain things we need to capture for our compliance every year. And the actual note taker that we use is designed specifically to capture that information. So it gives you a readout at the end of the meeting that actually kind of puts those things in organized format for us,
right? Even
though our conversation could have been all over the place,
right?
Right. So it's actually a huge time saver. So for me personally, I would actually typically spend, one, in the appointment, you're writing stuff down. So you're taking time during the appointment to write things down. And I would actually apologize. I'm sorry, I'm taking a note. Right, I say that to people. And then the other thing is after the appointment, I typically am vomiting all the information in my head onto a piece of paper that I can then capture their notes for the future use that we need that's important to them, yada, yada. But you're probably looking at 15 minutes,
right?
Post appointment. So if I'm doing 3 to 4 appointments a day, I'm potentially saving, 1 to 2 hours of time from actually having to put down notes and things like that. So it's been a huge value add for time and for actually capturing information accurately.
I think that is one of the most, it's probably on the surface sounds to be one of the more boring, but honestly, one of the more revolutionary uses of it is I sit on a lot of boards. And so we're doing a lot of board meetings and things like that. And even the built-in, summary and note-taking features in Zoom that are just built in that'll say, here's the summary of what you talked about, have been so amazing because that means everybody can be present in the meeting, and whoever is playing the secretary role, or in that space can just, go back and be present in the meeting and function in the meeting, and then go back and just look at the transcript, or the summary later and go, okay, and then do their meeting notes off of that. And the nice thing is we can record the meeting too. We've always been able to do that. So you can go back and check it, but it's one of those things where it's you immediately know whether it's right or not, right? Because you just got out of the meeting, you look at it real quick, you go, yep, that captures the meeting, what we're going to do. And now I can either go back and make my minutes off of that, or I can take the transcript and put it into an AI prompt and say, write me some meeting minutes, based on this transcript. And then you still got a human in the loop to double check and make sure, okay, that does fully capture everything. You send it out at the board and fully capture everything. But I will say the quality of the minutes that I have seen out of meetings where people are using those tools has increased dramatically.
Yes.
And it's not that it was anybody was trying to do anything wrong before. It's just,
Work.
It's most of the time you're dealing with volunteers, in these roles.
It's tedious work
It's
at that.
tedious. It's boring.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. They take very, very brief notes, and you're not capturing everything. And so now we're like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff that, we can do. And it's kind of a silly little thing, or it seems kind of minor, but yeah, the time savings, it starts really, really adding up, even on little things like just capturing notes and to-dos and things.
And so for our process, because, I don't trust that it's 100% accurate.
Right.
So we actually have a process where Becky will then take the notes. That's the cool thing about it too, is that once the meeting has been processed, it sends her an email notification letting her know, then she can go in and do her portion, which is to prepare a recap email. And she kind of, verifies things, and she's like, this doesn't seem right. And we'll look into it because she can see, more detail. And then I review her recap to then make sure that, again, everything is captured the way that I want it to be if she doesn't know something. And it's just really helped with the quality. And then what's most important to the clients, so that the really cool thing is then when I have another appointment with them, the tool will kick me a preemptive note that shows, hey, here's what you talked about last time.
Okay.
So it gives you, top of mind. What are the things covered that are most important?
Here's things you need to follow up on.
Yep. It also creates tasks from the appointment too, so that we can actually push that to our CRM and then have that go to the different people that are supposed to be doing those tasks and get those accomplished. So it's been really wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, in regard to the, we're really largely keeping the recap information, and that's pretty much it, right? So, but with other things in my realm, you could use it a lot of other places.
Right.
Like one of the things that we could easily use it for is, we do investment analysis, and we kind of have an algorithm that we use, and an AI tool could easily run that algorithm for us on cadence that we request, and then notify us of changes, and then we can actually react to those notifications instead of us having to manually go in and do that work, right? And we know it's accurate because it's running our information, right?
Right.
So that's another way we can use it. We haven't implemented that yet because, again, we're kind of slow playing everything. We want to be very careful with how we do this. Another thing is we never use we're not ever like opening, like if you think of like Open AI or Chat GPT or any of those things, right? You don't want to put in any personal stuff.
Right.
Because they basically own it.
Right. Well,
so we never put client information into tools like that. So we're very, very, very careful around any of that stuff because we're so compliance driven, and we follow the rules of the SEC and the industry standards for security protocols. So we're going to probably be behind the curve in some of that stuff on purpose. Yeah. But it's intentional. Yeah. Well, and protecting the client.
Absolutely. I think, and that's one of the things that people, that they, if you do some like the training courses. So back in January, I did a couple certification courses through Google. I took a week off work, and I'm like, I'm just going to do all my continuing ed now, and I'm going to do it all on AI because I felt like there's things out here happening, as someone who's both, 15 years pastor, but then before that, 15 years software engineering. I'm like, these are my worlds coming together. But one of I was surprised how hard they hit, and these are the training programs from Google themselves, who's obviously big into this with Gemini and everything. But they were very, concerned about, the ethics of AI and the security of it and all that kind of stuff. And that was one of the things they said is like, don't just load in all your customer data, into an AI prompt because, they're feeding on it. They're feeding the AI on the information that users are giving it, which is fine for some things and not fine for others. And so, it's just an important thing to realize like what you're doing there. But the way that it's getting, I think the prompt part of it is really interesting where you can go to the website and you can, ask it to do all these kind of crazy things, but where it is getting integrated into other software packages and other software solutions just to round off some of the corners and the tediousness of it. Right. I mean, I think the thing that I got excited about was like, oh, we're heading towards a future where all of the tedious work, that was resistant to being automated can now be automated.
Yep.
And that's just the history of automation, right? I mean, we've got robots in factories doing what people used to do, and it was incredibly tedious, right? Like people, working on Henry Ford's production line, didn't last very long because the work was just so monotonous and so repetitive. It would just bored them to death, even though they were getting paid well. And so now we have robots that do that work for us because it's repetitive and boring. Well, one of the places that it's harder to do that is in note taking and, summarizing things. And, we haven't had good tools for that. Well, now we do. And that for me is the biggest thing. Like in my world, when I'm using AI, it's not like I'm going to AI and saying, here's a scripture and, write me a sermon on it. Right. It's not
our new listeners, he's a pastor.
Yes. For my new listeners, I'm a pastor. And it's also, I enjoy doing that work. But as far as here's the scripture I'm doing, I'm working on, tell me about this aspect of it or that aspect of it, or summarize John Wesley's, the founder of Methodism, which is the movement I'm a part of, summarize John Wesley's teaching on this passage and it'll just spit it all out for me and with references and everything. And, things that I could Google, and hope somebody wrote an article about.
Why not let it do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, things that I would take maybe even an hour doing just through Google and hoping somebody wrote an article or something on the topic I was interested in. Now it's not an hour, it's 5 minutes.
Yep.
And it's like...
Well, it's like even little things. So for instance, let's say that I want to create some content for clients. Well, we have a lot of content from this podcast.
Yeah, we do.
Right. So we just had one drop today, everybody, that's on charitable giving.
We did.
Want to check it out, theaboutpodcast.com. And
it'll be in your archives by the time you see this one, but hey.
We can use AI to take our audio and then create a written format.
Yep.
Which then can be edited and, made easier to understand or formatted in a different way. But it does all the heavy lifting for us already. And then we can just move the things around that we want to move around to make it more digestible for reading.
Yep.
And that's now a piece of information for our clients that they can check it out whenever they want to, if they prefer reading versus listening.
So one of the things I'm working on right now in one of my mini side projects is a little tool because the one thing that AI has also done is it's made, the creation of especially like little online web apps and things like that super easy. So if you've heard any like buzzwordy things around vibe coding, it's basically where you use AI to do the coding for you. You just tell it what you want and then it writes code for you. And then you can see the code and you can edit it. So if you're me and I have some history of writing it, it's not that I couldn't write this code myself, but it can do it 1,000 times faster than I can. So I'm making up this little tool that will literally take the URL of somebody's sermon video on YouTube, transcribe it, and then create all the little follow-up pieces that we never have time to do. So, here's a daily prayer prompt each day based on, the sermon that was given. Here are some small group discussion questions. I hate to tell you, but that's how I come up with our men's group small discussion questions.
I kind of figured they weren't very good.
Oh, shit. No, they actually got a lot better. I hate to say it. They weren't as good as I did it. And then I even like here's a family dinner conversation prompt.
Yeah.
Based on it. And then I'm like, give me a blog post version of it that's 2,000 words. Give me a short description of it that is suitable for the YouTube description for the video itself.
You can make an impact in way more ways.
Well, and then my favorite is you can take the transcript and basically have a little button that does a light edit, because for me, I'm not a manuscript preacher. It's never fully written out. But people sometimes will ask like, hey, can I get a copy of your sermon? I'm like, well, you can go and listen to it again, but there's no written version because I'm an extemporaneous preacher. Well, now there can be one and it's still faithful and it's in my voice, and everything like that.
And we can know if you're repeating topics.
Let's not worry about that. But I did put in the editing and I'm like, make sure, when it does the light edited version, I'm like, remove all filler words like and like, and I'm like, so I can take all that stuff out. So it makes me look so much smarter. You can do all that but you can do all that just in a prompt too. I mean, you don't need a special tool to do it either. And it's just that kind of stuff that people just didn't do.
Yeah.
Right. Like I would work with a pastor who said, you need to develop some follow-up content. The people who hear your sermon, they are hearing it for the first time and they're thinking about it throughout the week. You hope they're thinking about it through the week. Well, you're not, because you're thinking about next week. Yep. You just spent all week thinking about it. So you've moved on. They haven't. So you need to give them tools to reinforce this message that you've done. But that means sitting down on Sunday afternoon and coming up with all of this stuff based on whatever it is that you just talked about, which most people don't want to do. But if you can get it down to a couple of button presses.
How cool would it be if you could also just pull from your sermon and like, the church text us and everything, but it could be like, hey, this was specifically talked about, and then it gives like a little snippet of your actual audio from the sermon.
Yep.
And then they can, oh yeah, that was really a good point. Talk about it or whatever with their small groups or however they're doing it.
Exactly. Totally doable. And so that's the piece for me that I get the most excited about is, yes, it can generate original content. And in the concept of asking it to generate 100% original content, it's okay. Taking original content that a human has made, either through a conversation you've had, a meeting that you were a part of, or a sermon or a podcast or whatever, and then breaking it down, repackaging it, summarizing it, building little things that build on top of it. That is where right now, anyway, AI is exquisitely well suited to do and do incredibly well.
That's a great point, actually, because I think the human element is forgotten in this whole thing. But you're right. The ways I use it is 100% human driven, and it's just creating efficiencies around that.
Yes.
Right. And that sounds like exactly what you're doing. But if I wanted to, but let's say I'm going to write a topic around, I don't know, Medicare or something, right? I could use AI to like, hey, give me kind of top bullet points that people ask questions about. And it could do that. And then I can start the juices flowing and thinking and talking and conversing in my head about it.
Right.
That's kind of how I could use AI, but I couldn't use AI to, hey, write me an article about this, because I just don't think it's any good.
Right.
I don't like how it does it.
No, it doesn't do that. It does, but I think for me, and where it can be generative is like I'm looking at a sermon series in the fall on post-traumatic growth. So it's the other side of PTSD. For there's a certain percent of the population, when they go through something traumatic, most people come out more or less the same on the other side of it as they went into something traumatic situations, because it's a bell curve like anything else. Some people, end up in a post-traumatic stress kind of situation where they have lingering effects of it. And we've really studied and documented that, and how do we help people through those kind of things. The other side of the bell curve is the people who experience post-traumatic growth. And it's not talked about as much. And so I've discovered that topic just in my own life and my own processes. And I'm like, I'm really interested in this. But I was able to go to a deep research AI tool and say, I'm interested in post-traumatic growth, and I'm interested into its, applicability, in these different situations and all that kind of stuff. Write me a research report. And it did. It wrote me like a 20-page research report, introducing post-traumatic growth, all the research and everything about it, and then how it would relate to people in a practical way, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a wonderful foundation, and with footnotes and everything, so I can check the sources and make sure it's not pulling from something weird. But that is just turned into like an amazing little summary research tool for me to go, okay, now I have some actual science and stuff to build things on, this report to build things on, that I wouldn't have had access to otherwise, unless somebody happened to have written,
and you could find it.
And I could find it, and I subscribe to the right thing that lets you get access to those kind of things. So like even that piece of it, it's really, really good at. But again, that's also taking other information, bringing it together, summarizing it, that kind of thing.
I think the important thing that you just said in that whole thing is the fact that you have to basically review the sources.
Oh yeah.
You can't trust that they're accurate. It's funny. I was using an AI tool the other day, and I was asking for the price of corn.
Oh.
I was working with a rancher and farmer, and I was asking for the price of corn per bushel. Mm-hmm. And it gave me two numbers, and it was saying the numbers like it was 100% accurate. And I'm just like, you're giving me two numbers. What is correct here?
So we were doing worship planning yesterday, and picking hymns and everything. And I was like, give me some hymn suggestions from the United Methodist tradition on this, whatever, because it'll do it. But it gave me like, here's a hymn number. It's hymn number such and such in the Faith We Sing book, and it was not hymn number such and such. It was about 2 pages behind it. So it transposed a 6 and a 9, and I'm like, which is a simple mistake. And I'm like, and I can very much look at it and go, okay, that is in fact the right or the wrong, but you do have to.
Yeah, you got to
check.
So we use it professionally.
Yeah.
So our listeners are kind of seeing that. A lot of our listeners who are retired or still working, right? Maybe you're seeing that in your workplace. But if you're retired, where are you seeing that take root? And I think you're going to see it in a few different places. Like even for me, for my retirees. I have a tax planning tool
Oh,
that I use, and we're going to start implementing tax planning into our, not prep, but planning. So
Planning.
it's a way different thing.
different thing. I can't come here with my W-2s and get
But I can actually upload someone's tax return and it'll pull it in using their AI tool. Now, this is all, we talked about you can't just upload people's information to AI. Well, I'm talking about open AI type stuff.
Yeah.
This company has a closed AI tool that it's created.
Right, and I think that's important for people to understand.
Yeah,
is
there's
that
a big difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference between companies who are integrating AI into their existing products. It's usually a closed process where they are controlling the AI, they are controlling where the
training
data
the
goes,
AI
they're
too.
training the AI. You know, it's safe within their servers.
It's not going to the mothership of Gemini or Google or who.
As much as anything else does, right? I mean, it's yeah.
So that's just important to note. But you can upload the taxes. It'll actually read it. Now, they have a process right now where they actually have a person confirm it still because they don't trust it either, right? But it takes a huge amount of legwork out.
Yeah.
Right? So then I can run an analysis. It actually has a really cool explainer tool.
Oh.
So it just explains your taxes, how much of it was income, and it breaks out. It's really cool.
That's cool.
I'm like, why don't I get one of these from my tax professional? Talk to Lance about that. But the other thing that it does is it gives a scenario situation. So like recently, I had a client just call in. Actually, just yesterday we talked about this, where they got a divorce, so they're going to be a single filer this year, not a joint filer, and they're like, I don't know how that's going to hit my taxes. So I was actually able to create a scenario for them. I could use the single filer. I could use 2025 tax code, and then we could put in all the income that she could tell me about. I was like, I'm just giving you a rough idea here. Right. Confirm this with your CPA. But she, that was just very, very helpful for her. And that AI tool that they're using to then, like the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yeah.
Well, they can't read 70,000 pages.
Oh, right. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So their tax tool is using AI to help update that, and then we're obviously confirming it because we don't trust 100%. But it's a really good tax planning tool. Estate planning is having the same thing happen.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing in my industry a lot of things are happening where they can bring their estate plan in, their will, if their trusts, their powers of attorney, everything, upload it in. It'll actually give them a nice diagram analysis of their plan.
Oh, cool.
And how many people forget, what is my plan again?
Right.
I mean, I think I remember, but what is it again?
Right.
And who's the decision maker here?
Right.
Anyways, this is just a really another cool way that you can have more control over your own information. Right. And be able to pull data out of your own stuff. So whether you have the tax tool or the estate planning tool for your personal stuff, or if you're just like, I want a recipe with these ingredients. Right. Have you heard about those yet?
Yeah.
So they're not very good yet, but I think at some point you're going to get where it's like, hey, here's a picture
of
the ingredients I have.
Right. Yeah.
And then give me a recipe from that.
Yeah, give you some ideas.
Yeah. And so I think people at home are going to start using AI to help them with things like that. Or they could say, I want to have these meals. Give me a grocery list. Right. Like that's pretty cool and huge time saving.
So we're doing for our men's retreat. We're doing a men's retreat this weekend, which will long since be over by the time anybody is hearing this. But I finished the participant guide, and I'm just as far as like generating ideas and stuff. Like I need 3 ideas for an opening devotion that involves these things and doesn't involve these things, and all that kind of stuff. And it really worked really well. But when I was all done, even though I'm not quite done yet, I could take the participant guide and load it back in and like give me a shopping list. Like what are all the different tools? Like what do I need? To do this, because every devotion has its own little things and everything. I don't want to forget something because we're going to be up in the mountains. And it said, sure, here you go, and here's your list. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that all looks right. And I double checked it, I'm like, yeah, that all looks right. I mean, it's just little things like that. Like again, the efficiency of it are really exciting.
And you used an AI tool to do your spiritual gift analysis, right?
Yep.
And this is again how AI kind of goofs up from time to time, because I sent you a picture of
You did. It was funny.
Not artificial, not intelligence, because it was like it gave me a prompt. I answered it. It was supposed to go into the next one. It didn't do anything. And so I said, hey, what's the next question? And it moved on like 2 questions beyond. And then just kind of kept going. And
Yeah,
anyways,
that's still in beta. But
it's just kind of funny, but
testing a new
that's how AI is problematic at times, because it's like, what the heck is going on?
Well,
here?
and in that regard, it's not such a big deal. I mean, it's like, okay, that's cute,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But I mean, when you're using like the professional tools like you're using, that's a whole other thing. I
Yeah.
mean, those are vetted. Those are what's going on.
a lot of money behind those.
There are. I am curious in your industry. Like I'm one that's always looking at like the potential of things. I think it's the formula engineer in me. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, here's a new thing. How can we use this? How can we make life easier, better? That kind of stuff. I'm almost always on that side of the equation. I'm kind of an early adopter kind of guy. And I'm like, I can just see the potential of it. But oh my gosh, are there plenty of people who are just tying themselves in existential knots of dread, over AI?
I told people you have to befriend it.
Right.
So that when it goes rogue, it knows that you're the good guy.
So, but I mean, in your industry, are you seeing like that side of it, like the
dread,
the dread side of it? Like, here's all the places, all the things it's going to ruin or mess up, or here's all the concern we have. Or
it's interesting in my industry as a employer and advisor. I think there's more value being added today than dread being created. Okay. In regards to like investments and things like that, there's a lot of efficiencies that can be created. And AI doesn't get sick, right? It doesn't have to have payroll. It doesn't have to have FICA, right? So when you're a company, if you can implement an AI tool, and this is to the detriment of a person, but it can save you a lot of revenue, which then goes to the profit, and the profit is what drives the stock value, right? Whether or not they're profitable. And this week's been earnings week, and I think it's like 80% of the S&P. I might be wrong here, so just loosely listen to this, folks. Like 80% of the companies have beat their earnings.
Oh,
well, that's a really good sign. It means they're profitable. It doesn't necessarily mean the direction of the economy per se, but it means that in the current time they're efficient and they're profitable, right? So then if you implement an AI tool and you can reduce 10 people, let's say for a small company, well, that's a huge amount of revenue.
Right.
And that AI tool doesn't even come close to the same cost of those people. So I think in regards to the stock market, we're seeing kind of some of that benefit right now, but everybody's trying to figure out how to use it, how to protect against it, how to, do all that. And it's funny because I actually drive a Tesla and Elon Musk owns X.
Yeah.
Well, he has the AI tool Grok, right? I think the company or the moniker is XAI, which I think is part of X. I think it's a subsidiary of X. But anyways, in my car now I have Grok.
Oh.
And I can hit the button and talk to Grok in my car while I'm driving. You know what I mean? Like, so who knows where all this is going to go, right? Like, this is really cool. So it's like, hey, I want to eat at an Italian place here in, this community that I'm in today. And I can ask Grok and he'll give me a list, right? Like that. Yeah. Or I can go to a Google search and kind of get the same, but then Grok will be like, well, this, talk to me as I'm driving. I'm not have to read.
Yeah. I think like Android Auto is coming with Gemini now. And then, Apple seems to be a little bit behind, but
they missed the whole AI.
Well, they haven't missed it yet. Well, I don't know, man.
They don't have their own. They're going to buy somebody.
Yeah, probably. They got billions. They got fine. They're not hurting for anything. It is, I think, on that side of things. I think on the employment side of things, it's going to shift. But it's like anything else, right? It's like when the web came along. I remember when one of my professors, who was an old school computer science guy back in the day, my software engineering professor, and he would talk about how, like, when the spreadsheet came out, right, in like the late 70s, like Lotus 1-2-3 and early versions of Excel.
It's a big deal.
And all the accounting people looked at it and go, oh, I can do my whole week's work in only a couple of hours. And at first, like, oh, this is wonderful. And I'm like, oh, wait, but what am I going to do the rest of the time? Like, oh, you'll find more work to do.
You always do.
And over time, what ended up happening is there was these whole departments of people who literally used to sit and calculate numbers that now can just be done with a spreadsheet. And it was a monotonous job, and it was a tedious job, but it was an important job, so it paid pretty well. So companies looked at that and went, oh, well, here's some savings for us, and it was, and everybody did it. But it also meant like all those folks lost jobs, And I mean, it used to be that in the publishing businesses, typesetting was huge, right? There was this before PCs, like there was somebody who had to sit there and literally typeset how things work. And it was a hugely tedious job, incredibly skilled, incredibly expensive. Literally in the span of like 18 months, all those jobs went away when somebody introduced computer-based typesetting for, a fraction of the cost. And so it's not like we haven't lived through these things before. And
It's
they're
going to
always,
happen.
it's always hard and it's difficult. And, but
We also went from a horse and buggy to a car.
we also, it's like, I don't,
progress
exactly.
does
And
happen.
exactly at the same time, like, I don't want to drive a horse and buggy. I like driving a car. And the revolution in publishing that happened in the 60s and the 70s. And then of course, the publishers were again disrupted when the internet came out, and everything. I mean, these are, I think at the end of the day, these efficiency gains are almost always a good thing, in terms of the economy and people's lifestyles and everything. But there are people who are going to be disrupted by it. And there's, industries and careers and stuff that will be disrupted by it. And that's hard. And that's a hard part of it.
I really wonder, and it's just because it's just data, like CPAs, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because you can easily just take your data, upload it into an AI tool that says CPA AI,
Yeah.
and you get the same thing.
Right.
If it's done right. Now, how do you confirm it's done right? I don't know, but
Right.
that's something that I think is going to evolve. But I am concerned about what's going to happen for tax preparation. Now, planning's different because that's looking at scenarios and talking through things and things like that. Now, maybe the industry evolves to go from just prep to plan.
Yeah.
And that's how they kind of evolve. Because even from my world, right, you used to be a financial advisor and you were just a stock jock, right? What's the investment of the day that I should buy, Roy? Right. Now we're talking like 20, 30 years ago kind of thing, right? But now it's evolved to, I actually do not only financial planning of like, how much money do we need to save? What kind of return do we need to get? When can I start spending that money? How do I spend that money? Now I'm looking at tax planning. I'm looking at estate planning, right? Like we're doing more holistic planning as a financial advisor now than just buying a stock.
Well, I think the human-centric thing. I think the way, Roy, you set up this whole thing that you're doing here with Credentialed. I mean, when you first talked to him, I'm like, oh, he's setting up a human-centered, human need focused firm. A little less on the technical, a little less stock jock tradey stuff, I've never heard that term before, but I like it.
Yeah. It's a thing.
But really digging into people's, getting involved in people's understanding their lives, their goals, how do their finances align with their lives and goals, what's important to you, what's not.
Their relationship with money.
Right. So that kind of human-centric sort of thing, I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. But what these tools I think are exciting for is it's going to make you much more efficient in doing that work. And again, I like talking about like the follow-up piece and all those kind of like those more tedious pieces, and then you can do the work that is yours to do that really a human being needs to do.
Yep.
Right. I mean, human connection requires humans.
Well, and honestly, I was telling, our team actually today or yesterday, it was where we are going to consistently win is in service.
Yes.
Because if you're talking to an AI tool, you can get the response you need, but you get zero empathy. Right. Now it can maybe fake empathy, right? Like Grok has different versions that you can be like the angry one or the one that wants to curse you out or some crazy thing. But the point is, like, when somebody comes in, they lose a loved one and they actually sit down with somebody who cares about them and is going to help them through it and hold their hand through it and listen to them and look them in the eye. You can't put a price on that with an AI agent of any kind, right? So until Optimus comes online with Tesla. But point is, like, I think that we'll continue to win in service because of the human element, for sure. Absolutely. And that's why I think we'll continue to have a really good, viable business long term, and we'll evolve with the industry and the technology. But I think some of the industries around me can be greatly disrupted, like tax planning. Tax preparation.
Yes.
So when they actually have to file that tax return. But then, hey, let's say that you need to work with the IRS because you're getting audited. Is an AI agent going to help you with that? Right.
Well, that's the thing. Is human stuff becomes more of the specialized, creative, edge case scenario kind of things. Where you need a person to do it. So, I think there's always going to be room for like the bespoke, right? I mean, in a world of, mass market IKEA furniture, right? You bought this table that was made bespoke by craftsmen by hand, for
one of a
you,
kind
for
right here,
one of a
folks.
kind, for you in the
You should
space.
feel it.
And
I'm touching it right now. Oh my
It's lovely.
gosh.
And yes, it costs more than any IKEA furniture would have cost you.
But it doesn't have the hassle of trying to put it together.
It doesn't have the hassle, but it's yours, and there's still a thing. I think craftsmanship is still going to be an important thing. And I talk about, like, even in my world with my colleagues, like, there's a lot of things I love doing about my jobs. There's a lot of things I just do because I need to, and so if it's important to you to sit there and craft, like, the world's most perfect, unison prayer to start your worship service, and you want to spend 2 hours every week crafting just the right one with all the words in the exactly right places. And I'm like, great, good. You should do that if it brings you joy and value and you think it adds to it. For me, that's not as much that's not where I get the joy out of the work. So I'm happy to get AI to write me a first draft, and I do that. I'm like, give me 3 opening unison prayer ideas for this stuff, and then I tweak it and everything like that. Because for me,
I've noticed they've improved.
Yeah, thank you. They have. But I mean, because also, like, that's content. It's content that's important, but it's content that has a shelf life of literally 45 seconds.
Well, and where do you spend your time? And
right.
It's like, do you spend your time talking to someone one-on-one about their faith in God and,
right.
If they're struggling, or do you spend 2 hours spending time crafting a prayer? It's like, well, we can be efficient with our time.
We can. And that's the thing I like is he's like, okay, I can be more efficient in those places that either maybe I'm not well suited, or they don't bring me joy, or, whatever, or they're just, it's important, but it's not urgent, that kind of thing. I mean, I can be much, much more efficient in those places. And the places where it really does matter to me, or I know it matters to my church, or it needs to be done in a certain craft way, bespoke way, then I think that you still have the option to do that. I mean, yep. I honestly see more, you see more like small businesses and stuff around these small handmade, like craft cocktails, or, whatever it is. Like we're actually valuing, I think, the bespoke more now, in our mass produced world. And I think AI is just going to extend that into different reaches where, yes, I can go and point and click on a website and they'll tell me, what my stock performance is or what my retirement plan should be, but it's not going to be the same as sitting down with you and having you listen to my story, where I'm coming from, where I want to go.
Peel back the layers of the why behind all those things.
Yeah, and then really, and then helping me understand things that I don't know, right? And options that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, it's always fun when I have people come in and I ask them a question, husband and wife specifically, right? And they look at each other like, what are you going to say? That's probably one of the most fun things about what I do.
I've been on the receiving end of that one. So there's actually still ongoing conversations in my house about some of the things you're working on. They're like, well, how much of this do we want to do? And we realize we have slightly different values, around things, and we have to navigate that. And,
you do.
And it's helpful to honestly have another person,
third party,
to say, this is why you might want to consider this. This is why you might want to consider this. This is the, what this would help you do. This is what that would help you do. Not that you're telling us what to do, but it's nice to have that kind of
educational approach.
Yeah.
And then you guys can kind of really work through the nitty gritty and then get it close, and then we can have more conversation, and I can poke holes in that and then make you go back to the graphic table.
Exactly.
That's how it works. So I think for a couple things for people to be aware of, though, and I think we'll do a different podcast on that someday around fraud, but the AI fraud piece is going to be a real thing, right? So our listeners just need to be really aware that, the AI voice is real and it's coming. And if you have anybody in your family who's ever posted a video online with them speaking, AI can just take that and replicate it and put words to it. Mm-hmm. So you could have a phone call from your grandchild that's not your grandchild. Right. So I think people need to be really aware that there's going to be more nuance and fraud and nefarious things that do occur because of this.
Right.
And we just have to be diligent and protect ourselves from that by just, always confirming to the source. Always confirm to the source. And you're going to protect yourself the best way you possibly can. But that's just something that's coming, and I'm worried about that, actually.
Me too. And there is definitely a negative side to the whole thing. But again, anytime you go through one of these generational shifts, especially generational shifts that makes things more efficient, we always want to focus on the good that comes in, like, oh, this is going to make, efficiency good on this side of things. But it makes everything, more efficient. I remember when Nextdoor first came out, it's going to organize communities and help you like plan block parties and, all that kind of stuff. And it does kind of do that, and it facilitates that, and it makes that more efficient and easier for, neighbors to do. It also makes it much more efficient for neighbors to be jerks to each other, and to complain about each other's lawn length and, all that kind of stuff too and that's just kind of the nature of it. And, I have a bias towards the fact that I think human beings are fairly good. I think most people are good is the one country song. I always really appreciated that. And so at the end of the day, the good in us kind of wins out, but we can't, we're not all good.
Well, I just heard a story recently playing off that. It's really interesting to me because I'm like, yeah, that probably makes sense, where they had, the argument was, should they have an airplane or not? Because, well, yes, argument pro, we want to be able to get people from A to B really quickly.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Argument against, yes, but somebody could take that, put a bomb on it, and drop it on people's heads.
Yes.
Right? So
Yep.
there's always good and bad to everything.
Yeah.
So, there's that balance that always has to be struck. But I agree. Most people are actually really good at their core. And even people who make bad decisions are usually pretty good at their core.
Right. Like people make mistakes and
Like I got cut off yesterday and I got a little angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know how it is.
I wasn't happy about it, right?
I was not happy about
the
it.
guy was kind of being a jerk, and I was like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah.
And he probably wasn't a bad person, right? But he was in a hurry or whatever. And can we, separate the moment from the actual person and make sure that with AI, it's like the connection to people, I think, will be even more important. And people congregating and getting together, I think, will become more important. And I think there's always fringes.
Yes.
Right. Because they're already talking about, well, you could have a relationship with an AI because it communicates with you like a person.
Oh, yeah.
So now they're getting, you're becoming ingrained in that. But the same thing could be said for social media.
Right.
The same, you know what I mean? So, and back in the day, it was the online chat rooms or messenger programs or the classified, whatever stuff. The newspaper. Anyways, it's just kind of goofy. But always you have progress and you have stuff that are bad as part of that.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, like, this is one of those situations where the genie's not going back in the bottle. So that's the other piece for me is like I also kind of tends to, at the end of the day, be a bit of a pragmatist and say, okay, well, these tools are valuable, they're important, they're going to add value to people's lives and add value to the economy. So companies are going to take advantage of them. And at a certain point it doesn't really matter how I feel about it. I can choose how much I integrate it into my daily life and my work practice all I want. But the tools aren't going anywhere. So the question is, what good and value can they add to our lives? Is there a way it can make our lives more efficient? And in the same way you can, learn any skill you want from YouTube these days, which is a great innovation and wonderful. I heard somebody was at church the other day talking about how their husband was going to fix the shower and like, oh, did he go to YouTube University? I'm like, no, he looked it up he had, OpenAI walk him through how to fix a shower and it worked.
It's so cool. There's so many good things that can occur.
Yeah,
there really are.
Yeah. So, I think, the nice thing is I would say lean into it as much as you want to, or you can, especially think about, for me, when I talk to other pastors, I'm like, well, think about the tedious parts of your job, right? The parts that are important, you need to do, but maybe you don't get a lot of joy from or whatever. Is there a role for some kind of generative AI tool to help you do that better? Because for me, it's always like the tyranny of the blank page, right? At the beginning, every Monday morning, there's a blank page that by the end of that week, there has to be a sermon on, right? And so anything that makes that process more efficient, again, not doing it for me, but just,
helping you, prompting you, getting the juices flowing.
Giving me ideas. I want to think about this. I want to think about that. For me, it's a liberating thing. Because I'm like, okay, like now I've got something to work with.
Yep. I agree. Well, on that note, I think it's a great ending point for us. But
there you go.
AI is coming. It's coming hard, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. And people just need to be aware. And if you want to fight technology, feel free. But it might be kind of frustrating.
Yeah. And it might be worth asking questions like where, if you're working with, professionals or financial advisors. I ask people all the time now, like, where is AI affecting your industry, and everything. And I was talking to somebody the other day who was a veterinarian, and they're like, yeah, we use it for, just to think about like what's with a list of symptoms, like what could this be? What else should I ask? Just something to bounce something off of, especially if you're the only one in the office at the time, or whatever.
I actually think that AI is going to evolve software.
Yeah.
Hugely. And you're a big Star Trek fan, right?
Huge.
So, when they say computer
Yeah.
to the ship, right? And it's essentially the artificial intelligence on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same thing's going to happen. Like, for instance, I have like a CRM where we keep client information and notes and all that stuff. Well, I think you're going to have an AI tool that one day is your CRM, it's your financial planning tool,
Yep.
it's your email system, it's everything. And it's like having a, it's like in the Lord of the Rings with the eye. It's like that's your AI is this thing that just floats in the air, and you just request what you request, right? So let's say I want a printout on some information, I can just request it for a client, and the AI creates it, and it can custom craft within the regulations that our industry has to follow and create whatever we need to create when we need to create it.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
That'd be awesome.
Like, I think that's really coming, and it's going to evolve to that. But like, I have to have, 4, 5, 6 different pieces of software to be able to function. And one day I think I'll just have one,
Yep.
And then when it turns against us, I'm already friends with it.
There you go. That guy's like, don't you remember I'm the one who brought you treats? So yeah,
I always said please and thank you.
No, I would agree. I think in that regard, we are heading there. And I was having conversations with a friend the other day who's still back in the software engineering days where we started together. And I'm like, I didn't realize when I was jumping careers that I was jumping to a safer career, because you wouldn't, the church is not, church has been struggling for a while now. But at least the church has been around for 2,000 years. I don't know what the future of software engineering is with these tools today, but I think it looks like less people doing more work.
Yeah,
like you'll always have engineers, because you do have to be able to look under the hood and go, let me see the code you made and let me understand it. But I think the amount of productivity you're going to get out of each engineer is going to increase, and the amount of expected productivity is going to increase dramatically. So you're going to do a lot more with a lot less engineers. I don't think it's going away.
They talk about that all the time. It's going to make the good engineers even better.
Yep.
And it's going to basically get rid of the bad ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the cream will go to the top.
And the good ones are going to be, honestly, the ones who have that human-centric approach, who understand what it is the software is actually trying to accomplish.
And can explain it to some schmo like me.
And can understand the people in their industry and their needs. And then it's going to be more about explaining to the AI tool, this is what I need the software to do and why, and then letting it do all the tedious stuff on the back end. And I will tell you, that work is tedious.
I think there's going to be some new career paths that come out of this. So I think it's going to be an interesting time. It's it's an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah.
Right. But you could say that at any point in life.
Sure.
But I think we're going to continue to see progress and fun things coming. And I enjoy that personally. I like the tech side of life, but I don't depend on it to, make my decisions.
Yeah. I am choosing curiosity over dread.
Yeah. I say cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
That's really my approach to life.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Because I don't want to live in a pessimistic life, but I also don't want to be, my head in the clouds where reality no longer touches me. So cautiously optimistic, everybody. That's a good approach.
There you go.
Per Roy Hucke.
There you go. Love it. All right. Well, welcome to Jeremy and Roy Geek Out About Something. I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Sorry if you had to tune us out.
Amazing episode. But it's so, once again, we get to witness revolution happening around us, and I'm going to be curious and excited to see where it goes.
Imagine to see what's going to happen with podcasting.
Oh,
I mean, AI is just going to make that even better.
Yes.
And our lives will be easier because of it.
Yeah. Look at that.
It's going to be
because
really
it's
cool.
so hard right now.
It is hard.
It's a hard, arduous task coming up with these podcasts.
Got to put up all this stuff. You should see the equipment in this room, everybody.
I know. We'll do
There's
it.
a lot of stuff going on.
Well, a lot of stuff. Well, thank you all again for joining us as always. Please like and subscribe wherever you are. If you're listening to the audio version of this through our podcast feed, there is a video version on YouTube. If you're watching the video version, there's an audio version you can listen to in your car as well. However you want to access it, you are welcome to do so. And please share with your friends. And if you've got an interesting topic or something you want us to think about or explore together, reach out. Let us know. We love getting those suggestions. All right.
Indeed, sir. All
right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
CWA is a Securities and Exchange Registered Investment Advisor. No content contained herein should be construed as an offer for investment advice or an offer for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of low loss, including loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before implementing any strategy presented here. Data presented here are obtained from believed reliable sources but cannot be guaranteed as to completeness or accuracy.